as well as helping evaluate significant projects for prestigious organizations. And we know that Prof recently Ghana's feat in having a food-based dietary guideline. He was the main lead as he co-chaired the task team for developing the food-based dietary guideline. He also is a fellow of the prestigious Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. So today we are very privileged to have Prof talk to us about his life, his work, research, and all the other things Prof is going to share with us. I'm very looking forward to a very interesting discussion, looking forward to a very good learning experience. So Prof, the floor is yours. Over to you. Prof, we would like to know, hello, Prof.
Yes, good afternoon to everybody.
Good afternoon.
And I know you are going to ask me to put on my camera, but for some reason, the last 2 weeks or so, my camera malfunctioned and it really escaped me to change the computer, so forgive me. You will have to do with the photo on the screen. Apologies to everyone.
It's fine, Prof. We are glad to have you here. So, Prof, could you please share a bit with us about your personal life and background?
All right. Thank you. First of all, thank you to Gant for giving me the opportunity to be spotlighted in this way. And I am hoping that what I'll share will be motivating for everyone who is here. About myself, this reminds me of when in school they ask you to write myself. So I am a frafra. Let me explain what that frafra means. It's not what you are thinking. People know me as an Aryeetey, and the first thing that will come to mind is a garment, but I am more than that. So I have a mixed background, and I tell myself that I convince myself and the people that I am very Ghanaian, because my background spans from Ashanti, Fanti, Ekuapem, Ga, and I can speak and write, I can read and write most of these languages. And then recently when my dad passed, I learned that actually my family came from Nando and they came to settle in Accra and took on a Ghana name. So me, I'm totally Ghanaian. That's how I describe myself. I am an average guy who grew up in Dakuman. I don't know how many of you know Dakuman in Accra here. I went to school in a school that now, if you are looking for the name, you won't find it because the name has changed. I went to primary school in a school that was set up by my grandfather. It was called Dakuman Methodist Primary School. Now the name has changed because the Methodist Church is now called St. Mark Methodist. So that's where I went to primary school. And then I continued on to JHS. So I was part of the first batch of the JHS. Well, at that time it was JSS, Junior Secondary School. I attended Odoko 5 and 6 Junior Secondary School. So I went to a proper government school. People think that it's only when we take our children to international schools that they can do well. Today, I just want to say that it's not only about where you go to school. I think the blessing of God, me, I'm a Christian, and I believe that the blessing of God makes a person prosperous. And all the other things that you have to do, you have to work hard, but you also have to put your trust in God. So from there, I went to Accra Academy. Are there any blells in the house?
No. Show my hand. Oh, the black one.
So I went to Accra Academy between 1991 and 1993. And I studied science in biology option. From there, we're the first batch of the SSS. That time it was senior secondary school, so SSS group, the first batch that was supposed to go to start university. And at our time, there were just a few of us who graduated who could get into university with aggregates that could get us into university. By the grace of God, I was among the few. I think from Accra Academy, there were 6 science students, 6 or 11 science students, I can't remember exactly, who were able to make it into university. And by the grace of God, I was part of those, where I studied biological sciences. Initially, I wanted to study medicine. That's what most people who did biological science wanted to do medicine.
Medical suicide.
Yes. And for some reason, I think in the first year, I tried for medicine at KNUST, and I was successfully put on the waiting list. And I have been waiting still. It never came. Then second year, when we finished level 200, we became eligible for medical school interviews here at University of Ghana. And I went, and then they also put me on waiting list. So now the dean of the medical school is a colleague of mine in the biological science. So I have to call him and tell him I'm still waiting for being put on the waiting list. It was then that I started looking for other options, and I think it was by word of mouth that I heard from others about trying nutrition. And so I went in to make inquiries. I remember at that time, for those who know Dr. William B. Osu, he was then the student, the person that you need to talk to. I forget exactly the name that was for that role, but you had to go and have a conversation with him. So I did. And from there, in fact, he really inspired me because he was a young man who had come back from Harvard and was doing all kinds of things. So that's what really inspired me. And I did nutrition and food science combined. I finished in 99. And following that, then I worked with Dr. Usu and Prof. Analate for about 2 years, left to do my master's in School of Public Health, and later on went to Iowa State University to have my PhD there. Came back in 2007. Now I've condensed a lot of stories into a very short one because I don't know what you would ask next. So since then, I've been with the University of Ghana, and I'm sure the rest of the story you know already.
Wow, Prof, that's inspiring already. Thank you so much for making us appreciate that it's not only about the school, but you need the grace of God to coupled with hard work. Thank you. But we missed something in telling us about your background. We would love to also know about your family, because for those of us who have had the opportunity to get close, we know you are a family man. So can you please shed more light on that for us?
Yes. So I am happily married with my wife, Faustina. In fact, I just sent her a message that she should join on. I don't know if she was able to join. So I have known Fausti for a long time. In fact, we grew up in the same church. So we've known each other for a long time, and we are married. We have been married since 2006, and we have been blessed with 3 children. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, really blessed. So, Prof, we also want to know that everything you've told us so far, you shared with us, how these experiences shaped or influenced your career as a nutritionist or as a person in academia and research.
It's a question that I've not really reflected on, but there are some things that have happened in my life that I think are things that I cannot take out if I want to think about what has really influenced my life. First of all, I grew up in a home where my father had a lot of books. I hardly saw him read anything except the Bible because he was a Sunday school teacher. So usually weekends I'll see him reading, but he had a lot of books, but I hardly saw him read it. But he's somebody who inspired me in the sense that he was educated. I think he went to school before I grew up and could really understand anything. He had gone to school up to technical school level. But in the house that we lived in, and this was a compound house with about 16 families, my father stood tall in his ability to speak English and really lead people, and that always inspired me. So I had inspiration in that sense. I also went to a school that, like I said, that was set up by my grandfather. I think that was something that put some kind of fire under your feet, that you can't be the son of the headmaster and not do well. And I think he was a big encourager. I mean, I've never gone to class 6 because I was jumped from class 5 to JHS. And that is one of the things that my grandfather did for me. Otherwise, so I'm probably cheating because I am ahead of I'm ahead of where I should have been, I should say. But I am thankful that my grandfather saw something in me and really encouraged me in that light. But I've also been blessed so much by people in many, many ways, and I'd like to highlight a few of them. And I think that my life wouldn't be where it has reached without people, without networks, and without people who found and created opportunities for me. The first of these that I will mention is Professor Analate. I really want to appreciate Professor Analate because not only did I learn how to work with, I mean, she's the first person I ever worked with who taught me work ethic. The idea of working hard, the idea of getting things done. I mean, when I first started working on the MGRS, we had just come out of finishing level 400. So then we got invited to join the multi-center growth reference study, which eventually gave us our weighing cards that we are using. And there wasn't any agency around initially how we were working until Professor Analate became part of the leadership of that project. And it really brought in a new sense of how to really work. But that was just the beginning of it. Subsequently, the reason why I was able to go to Iowa State University was because of Professor Analate. She was leading a project that provided opportunity for PhD. And there were, if I remember, there were 2 PhD slots. And she just called me one day and said, there's opportunity for PhD. Will you like to be part of it? And that's, for me, how everything started, you know. So if you see me standing tall, I am standing on another strong, knowledgeable icon in nutrition in Ghana. And I really lift my hat for her. Professor Analate gave me that opportunity. I remember that when I was about to go and go out for my PhD, at that point, I had nothing on me. I had finished MPH. I didn't have like a real stable job. I had a contract with Dodowa Research Center, and I was working there. And at that time, how much was I being paid? I think 30 Ghana cedis today. And so when the time came for me, I had been awarded a scholarship. When the time came for me to go, I didn't have anything on me. In fact, if it were not for a friend of mine who had just come back from Europe, she was my classmate, and she gave me $200, I would have gone to the US with zero in my pocket. So I'm really thankful, and I'm going to mention her name. My friend, Dr. Gloria Obiamwaku. She was my classmate. She was very helpful in that regard. Again, that's another example of how somebody saw something in me and helped me to be able to make my dream come true. Within the same department, I also want to appreciate Dr. William Owusu. I mentioned his name earlier on. He was the one who hired me first into the MGRS project. And so I really want to acknowledge him. He inspired me to do nutrition and food science. And then eventually he gave me my first job. So again, I'm standing on another giant who really was a trailblazer. And then when I finally went to the US, there was a lecturer of mine who had gone ahead to carry out his PhD in the same university that I went to, Iowa State. And I think he was in his second year when I went. He came and got me even from the airport and took me. I mean, he made everything easy for me. But more than that, when I went, it took me, for some reason, my Social Security number was not issued in time. It took more than 3 months. And during that time, my friend and my lecturer took care of me and provided all my needs. And we've been friends up till now. I'm sure some of you, I don't know who and who are here, but his name is Francis Tay. He's now Professor Francis Tay. He's in the US. He's the one who provided for my needs and all that. There are so many of them, but let me mention also my mentor and friend, Professor Grace Marquis, who has really taught me a lot of what I know and work with today. And she's also my collaborator, because since I graduated from Iowa State University in 2007, I've been working with her until today. We currently have a grant that we are working on, and Phyllis, you are one of the products of that grant. You know, there are so many of them, but the point I want to make is that in my own life, I couldn't attain anything without the help of people. And I think I haven't come across anybody who has also really been able to achieve anything without the help of people. And I'm really grateful for all of these people. Of course, I'm really grateful also to my wife. She's my biggest cheerleader. And so, Mrs. Adyeetey, to you also.
Wow, Prof. That's so heartwarming. This is so good to hear, Prof. And from your home as a child to where you are now, I gather two things. From your grandfather to your father to yourself, it goes on to, it really confirms the popular adage that goes like father, like son. So it's a real example, or it's a real motivation for us, the young and upcoming one, that we need to set good examples, because our children are watching, people are watching us, and we don't know who we are inspiring by our actions, or who we are discouraging by our actions. Thank you so much for sharing, and also letting us know all the people who have supported you on this path, and helping us appreciate the essence of networks and maintaining healthy relationships with people. Thank you so much for sharing all this. So
Phyllis, now, I think that now that you mentioned my father's own, I realized that if I don't mention something about my mother, and I'm not saying it because I want to equalize it, I really want to celebrate my mother as well.
All right.
You know, I told you I grew up in a compound house in a poor neighborhood. So my mom is like a jack of all trades. And she, if I had not stopped her last year, by now she will still be engaging in all kinds of trade. But my mom, I remember, did something that in secondary school really helped me. By, I think, the end of the first year, maybe second term, no, the second year, second term, I didn't have books to study in school. And this is secondary school. We were the first batch. Those who know, at that time, government took a long while before it brought us books. This happened in junior secondary school, then it happened also in senior secondary. But I realized that my friends who were doing well in school, they had bought, at that time, the Ghana Association of Science Teachers textbook, GAST. If you know, you know. And I hadn't been able to buy some because even what to eat and all that was a challenge. I mean, I didn't go to boarding school, and when I went to boarding school, I felt like things were so hard that I had to come back home because so, but my mother did something that I will never forget. She was trading in all kinds of things, and one of the things she was selling was firewood. And one time she took her capital and went and bought my books for me. And without that, I don't think I could have been part of those who were able to go to university. So I just want to celebrate my mother as well.
Celebrating your mother. What can we do without our parents, our mothers and fathers? Prof, thank you so much for sharing this. So we want to know from from our conversation with you so far, you've told us that it's not only through hard work. You've mentioned a few virtues and also appreciated that it's grace of God that's also set you apart. We want to know what are some of the values you hold dear when it comes to your work as a nutritionist, and how do these values guide you in how you approach people, how you work with people, how you guide your mentees, and how you relate with people in general?
Okay. I think I will start on this one by talking about hard work. It's not a cliche when people say hard work pays. And here, when I say hard work, I mean extending yourself beyond the usual efforts you can put in. And I am somebody who sometimes I realize that I push people too much, but because I do that because I push myself. And I believe that is an important ingredient in everything that we do. I mean, for many years, my wife was worried that she would not really enjoy my company because I am working everywhere. Even when I'm attending a funeral, I'm taking a book along. And so her family people say, hey, as for Richmond, baby, I'll book. You know, but the importance of hard work cannot be understated. So if you want to be successful at anything in life, you need to be willing to put in the hard work beyond what everybody else is doing. I mean, I remember when I first started working at the School of Public Health, I told myself, this is the number of publications I want to do every year. At that time, I set myself a goal of 2, all right? And I realized that in between all the teaching that is done and attending meetings, and those days, I think initially we were attending more meetings than even doing anything, because we were just one school and every meeting, everybody was part of it. And you get home exhausted, and I had just started a family, I had young children and had to contribute to taking care of the children and everything. So, you know, when I actually sat down to write at night, when everybody was asleep, And this will be usually around 11 p.m. And then I would work through to maybe like sometimes up to 3 a.m. And then try and get like 2 hours of sleep and get up and help prepare the children. And now I won't recommend that kind of regimen for anybody. That will kill you. But it is good to just live a balanced life, but don't just let life, take its course. There are people who say, oh, and you can sleep your success away. So hard work, I think, is important. The other thing is networks. I think you mentioned that earlier on. Networks. Now, there's nothing that I have been able to do that, has not been possible, has been possible without networks. And so, most of the grants that I have worked on came from somebody I know who passed on information to me, or somebody I had met in a conference or something like that. And that is something that you have to be deliberate in cultivating. Networks, build friendships, and there are ways of doing that. There are times when I've gone into meetings that I had not been invited into, just so that I can create space for myself.
Gate crashing.
Gate crashing. Be careful which meeting you gate crash. Don't go and get into trouble. But I think it's important to recognize that you can't do things all by yourself. Yeah. I hear there is a saying that says that if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you have to go with others. So that is the second thing I'll say. I think my faith in God gives me resilience that takes away fear. So I am not afraid to take on new challenges. It doesn't mean I don't have fears, but I trust in God that whatever I am doing, He will help me to do. And so even in all the work that I do, I don't hide my faith. I let people know that I believe in God, and that is a core part of who I am. If you take me as you see me, you take away my faith, that's not me, because it won't be complete. So my faith in God is really a big part of my life. I like to be also open to people. The thing I don't like is an environment where people feel like they are better than others. And so I like to come down to the level of anybody that I am with. If I'm in a place where people feel like they want to create a hierarchical system, I would like, and I'm tended to break down those barriers, because I believe that whenever you have places where you start creating hierarchy and posts and titles and things like that, it just stifles development. It stops people from thinking, because now they are just going to do yes sir or yes madam to people. And I think whenever we engage with, especially our colleagues from the West, I find this is like second nature to them. Here, we get posts small, titles small. We want everybody to know that we have posts, but nobody's going to steal it from you. So if somebody says, do you know who am I? Is it that you don't know who you are? So for me, that's not part of the way I work. So when I engage with my students, I like to create an environment where we can easily engage. And I know that some of them are here. So please, if it's not like that, you can call me out. But yeah, those are some of the, I mean, there are a number of things, but I think these are critical values to share.
Oh, Prof. Yes, somebody's who is there? Mildred. Do we have Mildred? I wanted to say that what you said is,
yes.
Please go ahead, Mildred.
Prof, please, this is Mavis.
Okay.
Yes, what I can attest to what you just said is very, very true. And yes, I really appreciate you for coming into my life and at least changing certain things in my life. I really appreciate. Thank you very much.
Wow.
You are welcome.
Yes, yes. And Prof, I also say that sorry, so we will allow an opportunity for you all to share and so that we would Prince.
Prof,
yes.
Prof is my classmate at Accra Academy.
Wow.
We were in the same class. And then Dr. Fitz was my lecturer at UHAS. Dr. Phyllis was my lecturer in UHAS. Prof is my classmate at Accra Academy.
Wow.
Prof, remember Mr. Abiashon.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Abiashon and then Mr. Sasraku.
Prince, when we finish, you get in touch.
Coach Shapiro. Okay, so when you finish, you give your contact so that we
All
chat.
right.
All right.
I was in the same class with Ampadu.
Oh, yes. Yes.
All right.
Oh.
Thank you, Prince. Prince, thank you so much.
Okay.
And everyone, please, because of our limited time, we can continue. Then when we are done, we'll give you an opportunity to ask all the questions. You are also free to put your comments in the chat as and when you wish. So yes, Prof, I also attest to it. I remember when I was in my postdoc on the Meals for NCDs project, I sent you an email asking if it was okay to call, and Prof said, no, you don't even have to ask permission. Feel free, call me anytime. I'm not a difficult person. You really made me feel at home. So thank you so much for all you do. And thanks for sharing with us some of these values: hard work, networking, faith, and not looking down on people and making sure we all work peacefully. So Prof, we know that you are one of the you are one of the top people or the command in the area of nutrition when it comes to, when in Ghana and even beyond. We want to know,
are you still talking about me?
Yes, please, you. So we want to know that how do you stay up to date? How do you stay up to date with research development? Because for the young and upcoming ones, we want to know how you do it. How do you how can you describe the approach to continuing education and professional growth? How do you do this? If you can share with us.
Hey, this one, I have a confession to make.
Please do go ahead. You are free. No one will judge you.
I don't think I'm even up to date. There's always something new happening here, something new happening there. But what helps is the various committees and initiatives that I am a part of. So I am, for example, in the last 3 years, I served on a WHO committee that was working on developing recommendations on complementary feeding. That was a huge learning opportunity. And I worked with some of the real giants in nutrition around the world, and that opened my eyes to a lot of things and a lot of insights, and it creates a lot of opportunity to learn. I'm currently also serving with the executive committee of the Scaling Up Nutrition Movement at the global level. And that also always presents opportunity to learn about new things that are going on. And then I get sent all kinds of new documents that come up, sometimes from colleagues. Like today, this afternoon, Prof. Last sent me a new document that has come out on how to identify healthy diets, what indicators to use. And then I also subscribe to some of the UN agencies that produce some of the key recommendations that come out. So when the food security, reports come from FAO, I get it. When the UNSCN newsletter comes, I get it. I've subscribed to these things. I'm not able to always read them, but at least I have them. When I need to do something, I can go and reference them. And then sometimes I have a habit that is not good. I don't know how to say no properly. So sometimes I'll say, this one day I have to say no because I'm overbooked. And then by the time I realize I've said yes, and that means that I have to go and find information on something. So accepting opportunities to speak at conferences, at meetings and things like that also creates opportunity to update my knowledge. And those of you who teach, remember that teaching also is a learning opportunity. Anytime I stand in front of my students, I'll learn one thing or the other. And some of it is very contextual information. For example, recently I learned in class that one of the reasons why people use non-iodized salt, the adango, the rock salt, is because they use it for spiritual purposes. I never knew that. I would never have been able to read that anywhere, but I learned that for my students. People use it for akwankyerɛ. So there are many ways to keep up to date on what is happening. But I mean, there are the traditional ones like attending conferences, then reading newspaper, newsletter and journal highlights. So for example, I'm a member of the Nutrition Society in the US. So every time the nutrition journal comes out, AJCN comes out, they will send you the table of contents so that you can go in there and look at which one you would read. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Prof. So, Prof, then what advice would you give us, especially for those aspiring for a career in nutrition or in academia? What advice you have for all of us on the call?
I think this one is the most difficult question. You saved it for last.
We are not even done yet. So you could expect more.
Advice. I think that there are opportunities for us to really influence human development. However, I don't find that nutritionists are confident in expressing themselves. And recently I went to a meeting on campus here, and I found 3 young nutrition scientists there. They had just finished their undergraduate and they were working as national service. In the meeting, they were just being used as people who were writing the names of those who are coming and, playing administrative role. I didn't find anything wrong with that. But I saw that they were just standing there and opening doors for people to enter. I'm like, is that what they have asked you to come and do yet? Nobody had asked them to do that, but they were trying to be helpful. But I had a conversation with them and thought that it would be good for you to really demonstrate your knowledge in the meeting, ask questions and express yourself. I think one of the things that we are not so good at, and I confess I also wasn't very good at, is communication. We need to be deliberate in learning how to speak and be intentional in how we speak, so that when people ask us questions, what we are saying is not just coming out in an uncoordinated fashion. And there's a certain level of confidence that I see other professionals, especially those in the health professions, when they are talking about their craft, how they talk about it. But I am yet, apart from a few people, I am yet to see that among nutrition scientists. And I think that we need to really up our game on that. Perhaps we need to take opportunity of training programs that help us to build our capacity to communicate what we know. Otherwise, there are so many people out there who are also communicating nutrition, who are not trained in nutrition. And then they take up what we know and we have been trained in, and they are talking about it with confidence. And sometimes they are, let me say this in tree, because I say, here can the tree. And yet they are saying it with so much confidence. So we need to be able to communicate clearly. I think the other aspects also is really about forming alliances. I asked for issue about, networking. I would keep bringing it up because nobody can achieve anything by themselves. And sometimes the way to really get into a good working relationship with other people is to serve them. And here, let me choose my words carefully. I don't mean go and carry somebody's bag for them and be their like, for want of a better word, boy. There's some sort kind of service may involve that, but just don't sell your soul in doing that. But what I mean is that be ready to work for people, and it will help open doors for you. When I finished my master's, the very first job I had, it wasn't really a job. It was somebody who wanted to collect data, and he hired me to do that. And he was giving me trotro fares to just go around and collect data for him. Can you imagine, trotro? And I had a master's degree and I didn't have a job, but I was willing to do anything just so that I can practice what I have learned and also get some daily bread. So I think that being humble and willing to work for people, even if it doesn't bring financial benefits immediately to us, can help, first of all, teach us skills, but also open doors for us. My first job wasn't really paying much, but I learned so much from it. That was the first time I really learned the rudiments of GIS. That was the first time I really learned the rudiments of databases. I knew how to do analysis with spreadsheets, but that was the first time I came into contact with distributed databases, and it wasn't in my area. It was so fascinating to me. So I think be willing to learn new things, be willing to try new things. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I think that is also really important. My very first work as a consultant, and I had not done some before, a colleague of mine, again, another person I want to really celebrate. She was my classmate, Mary Ajano. At that time, she was working with GIZ, and she asked me, do I do consultancies? And I said, I'm not really, but what she's asking, I can do it. Is it not a survey that she was asking for? She said, yeah. Then she connected me to someone. I was in my office. Then in walks somebody from Europe, and she comes and says, we want to do this survey. Can you do it for us? And I said, yeah, we can do it. I got some people together, trained them, we went to the field, we delivered the work. And the amount of money they paid me, I was like, I was surprised. But I had been working with this same company on their consultancies since 2012. The last one we did was last 2 years. I have just been so busy, so I've not really reached out to them on anything. But it's just that once you try something and you do it well and you learn, you are willing to learn, it will open doors for you, And there have been several things like that in my grants and research. Over.
Oh. Well, Prof, very soon we'll be reaching out to you. Thank you so much for sharing about all that, about developing confidence as professionals, communicating well, building capacities, forming alliances. being availing ourselves for service and working so that it would help us develop ourselves and also create opportunities for us. So, Prof, we want to hear from you. How do you envision, or how do you see the future of nutrition and dietetics in Ghana? Are there any particular areas or issues that you believe should be addressed or focused on when it comes to nutrition and dietetics in Ghana?
Yes, thank you for this question. I think that over the years, there has been a gradual shift towards building more capacity, the number of people who are working in the area of public health nutrition. And the number of people who are working in basic nutrition science, at least here at the University of Ghana, has not grown. And I think that is an area that we need to have more people working in so that we can understand the basic biology of nutrition. I think that currently we have many of us who are trained in public health nutrition. If maybe we should do a survey here and I can confirm what I have been thinking, but I think because of the success of those who have led us, who have been very successful practicing public health nutrition, that has become the mainstay of nutrition practice. And I do agree that that's an area that is really important. But I think we shouldn't lose the basics, which is the basic science of nutrition. And we need to push the frontiers, so that we can understand. Recently, I've been doing some work on behalf of the World Vision. And one of the things that has come up is that people in the beneficiary communities where this intervention is going on, the men think that the leaves of orange flesh sweet potato, when you drink it as tea, increases your libido. Is it true or not? This is where we need basic science in nutrition to be able to test and see, not just in a trial, but to find out the mechanistic relationship, if any, that is there. So the basic science of how do we explain the relationship between particular foods or substances that we are exposed to and its impact on our biology. I think that is really an important aspect. Where I studied in Iowa State Nutrition, I was in the public health nutrition section, but there was a big section that was looking at metabolomics and all the omics and its relationships with human health and health outcomes. I think that the basic part is something that we need to focus on. The other thing also that we need to be better at doing, and I think will be very important, is how do we develop programs, not just the assessment of nutritional status. And I think there's a lot of that going on. If you look at the literature that we are producing, more than 70% of them is focused on assessments. We need to transform our understanding into developing solutions. And in developing solutions, be able to test them in a high quality way. So if you have those skills, you really would be sought after, And then also analytical skills, being able to carry out high quality analysis, statistical analysis, analytics of complex behaviors. Now they call it machine learning and all that. I think those things all have relevance in nutrition. And so it's important to be able to learn about that. And then, of course, the communication aspect that I talked about, we need to be able to learn how to communicate what we are doing and how it is linked with all the SDGs. I usually teach in my class that if you pass through my class, you need to be able to understand the relationship between each of the 17 SDGs and nutrition. And there is a relationship with each of them. But that's how we would be able to demonstrate our relevance in human development.
Wow, thank you so much, Prof, for that. Yes, going back to the roots, looking at the basic nutritional sciences and all the way through to high-tech AI. In the age of AI, we can't do away with machine learning and all the other related things. So we thank you for that. And when in your speech, you mentioned that your current work with WHO, we would want you to share a little bit about your ongoing project or initiative. We know you are involved with the food-based guidelines. So you share on either that or anyone you want to share with us, how you are involved and what the project aims to do, everything related to raising awareness, healthy eating, and that.
All right. So my interest currently is really on food systems. We have usually focused on food, but there's a whole pathway that food traverses on before it gets to our plate. So the famous, now commonly known as from farm to plate or farm to fork. That is of interest to me. So some of the work that I'm doing currently is along those lines. I'm currently working with my collaborator, I'm sure many of you know him, Professor Robert Akparibo at University of Sheffield, and other colleagues in Sheffield. And we are looking at a project that we call NutriShed. NutriShed is designed to help us understand how food moves within communities, from places where it is produced to the places where it is consumed, so that we will be able to plan better how we can move the most essential nutrients to the places where it is needed most. And this is building on the kind of studies that we call food shed studies. There's also watershed studies, but it's all about ecological movement of resources. In this case, we are looking at NutriShed because we want to look at first, what are the nutrients that are most needed in a particular location. And we are doing this in 2 communities, Takrady, which is a very metropolitan area, and then Asesawa, which is like peri-urban, so that we will see the contrast. And what we will do is, once we do an assessment of the nutritional situation, we can then identify which nutrients are limiting in the diet of the most vulnerable population. And then we find out which foods contain these nutrients that are limiting, and how is this kind of food entering into the community. So we'll do what we call intercept studies, where we would work with the police at vantage points to determine how frequently these kinds of foods are coming into the community, what are where is it coming from, and how much of it is coming in, so that we'll be able to generate data that helps us to plan or develop methods for planning for the community, meeting the community's needs. So this is a study that we just started this year, and it will go on for the next 2 years. So we are pretty excited about it. And there are some hiding in this audience who are part of it. So that is one. I am also involved in the work that is building up the capacity of early career scientists like yourself. And that is the Nutrition Links project, which the idea is to ensure that we create opportunities for professional growth for our early career faculty. We've just recently opened a call for people to apply for that. So when we finish, I can put the link, yes, in the chat for people to be able to apply for it. So those are the two main projects that I am engaged in, but I'm also doing some review work on breastfeeding to be able to understand the breadth of, or the scope of effective interventions that exist in breastfeeding. So there's a whole variety of different things, interventions that people have tried. One of the interventions that really excites me is one where they play music and determine which type of music makes it easier for the mother to produce more milk. I mean, I think that was interesting. Of all the many different things, but there's all kinds of things that people are doing, and what we are trying to do is to create a living database of effective interventions, so that if any country wants to implement an intervention, they can go there and put in some information about how they are doing, what their needs are, if their needs are related to exclusive breastfeeding that is not doing well, or early initiation, if they put in information about which areas of interest they are looking for and which target group, maybe they want to focus on adolescents, they want to focus on nurses, whatever, then it will pull out the kind of interventions that fit their need. So it will be a searchable database. So instead of going to PubMed to wade through all the thousands of, hundreds of thousands of documents there, this one we have curated it and brought together only the ones that are focused on interventions, and then we will be updating it as we go ahead. So that is a review work that we have been doing, and I believe some of the people here also have been involved in that process, and it's ongoing. So these are currently the active projects that I have and I'm involved in. Of course, I'm involved in also other public service activities. So recently we've started working on the marketing policy that is needed to help us have sanity in communication around nutrition and addressing the issues of misinformation. So there's a committee that has been set up by FDA, and by the grace of God, we are on there trying to help with that as well. Yeah, of course, I've told you the other one, the WHO and the SUN and the others.
Wow, Prof. Thank you. This is so good, and we are happy to hear all the impact you are making and all the projects you're working. Very interesting projects, and we are eager to hear about the outcomes. I'm sure there'll be a platform where you come and share with us these outcomes. So please, before we leave here, there's one question, then we open the floor for the audience to ask or interact with you. We want you to give us one key message you'd like to convey to the members of GAND regarding the impacts and the potential of their work in improving health and well-being of individuals and communities. We know you've said a lot, but for members of GAND Association, how do you think the association could help improve health and well-being of individuals and communities?
Okay, I think that GAND is really well positioned to facilitate some of the things that I am advocating for, and that is building our capacity. And I know that that is being done in various ways. Even what the interaction we are having creates that kind of opportunity, the conference that is coming up and all that. I think GAND is in a position to really do that. But I think as members of GAND, we should also take advantage of the network that it creates for us. So you are in a region or in a district, and there are other GAND members, or maybe there are, but you don't know. It will be good to use this opportunity to find out who else is working close to me or in an area that I am also working, so that together you can have impact. Otherwise, by yourself, you can only go so far. So I think that network that GAND creates is really important, and we should all make it what we want it to be. Early on in my career, I was public relations officer for the Ghana Nutrition Association, and that really gave me a lot of opportunity to become involved in nutrition governance on the continent, even taking me up to the continental level to become vice president of FANUS, you know. So for me, I think the effect that GAN can have is not only local, it can even be at the international level. But what it will be depends on how we want to make it. So let's all contribute to that effort. Let's not wait for only the executives to do things. Let's also propose ideas of what we want to do. And by the grace of God, those of us who have had opportunity to be given much, we are happy to give back. So reach out to us if there's anything that we can do. We are always happy to be able to provide that kind of support. So that's what I would say.
Wow, thank you so much, Prof. And thank you for availing yourself. Said, there's so much we can all do to push this agenda. So let's all get on board. At this point, I would open the floor for questions. The hands are already up. So I have Raman. Raman, please unmute and share your thoughts with us.
All right. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. Please, Prof. I want you to help us understand the relationship between maternal deaths and malnutrition. And
Raman wants us to have a class today.
This is not a lecture, please. This is social. Raman.
But it's important.
Yes.
It's important to Raman. So let him ask.
I think I just wanted to find out those things because of some issues I currently, yes. And the second one really has to do with a particular hospital I work in. They continuously, you find some as part of their top 5 causes of deaths and admissions, and nothing is being done about it in the North. How serious is this thing that we really have to do? Maybe in terms of research and certain recommendation, maybe people will see the gravity of some of the issues, and then by way of discussing those one, maybe attention will be paid to those areas, and then solutions will come.
All right.
Okay.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, Prof. There is no hand
right.
up yet, so please take it.
Raman, I think the issue of maternal deaths is something that globally we've made some good progress on, but there is no gainsaying the fact that there is a strong relationship between nutrition, and here we are not only talking about diet. Nutrition is much more than diet, but nutrition and maternal health in general. We do know that mothers who are well nourished, they are less likely to have complications during delivery, and maternal deaths are really those that are linked to maternity. And so if mothers are not well nourished and they don't have adequate nutritional status, and here indicators like short stature, mothers who are below 150 centimeters,
yeah.
And then mothers who are thin, mothers who are not having adequate food security, they are not able to have critical nutrients such as iron, folic acid, and some of the B vitamins that are needed for optimal functioning and even for their children. But we know that when that happens, they can have when they have complications, they can die from that. But one of the things that we don't even look at it that way is the fact that there are a lot of mothers who experience reproductive exhaustion because they are either not planning their best by spacing it, or they are having too many, they are giving birth to too many children. What happens is that they don't get the opportunity to replenish their nutrients that they are losing with every episode of having a child. And therefore they are physiologically drained. In that way, their immune system will also not be strong. And therefore, any small infection or complication that is associated with maternity can knock them off. So as for that relationship, it is really established. Now, the challenge that you express regarding the fact that women are dying and then there's no action about it, that's a health system issue. That's not a nutrition issue, but it's also a kind of challenge that is begging for people who would take initiative, right? And so if you are working in a facility where this is happening, then Raman, this one, I'll throw it back to you. Ask yourself, what can you do to solve the problem? Normally, what should happen is that if a woman dies in a facility, there should be a maternity audit to find out what caused that. And for any woman who dies, there probably will be a lot of women who have experienced what we call near miss. And so there should be an effort to find out what is causing those deaths or complications in delivery. Now, assuming that is not happening and you are working there, then you can take it up with the institution head. This is where you might be wondering, hey, is it my job? But everybody who works in any place, you are responsible for everything that goes on there because you are part of a team. And I would suggest that if at your level, at the institutional level, it doesn't work, or your efforts doesn't work, go beyond that, because every health center works under another authority. But by all means, don't keep quiet. Go to all the extents that it will take. Of course, do that without hurting other people, but find a way to be able to get the issue the attention that it deserves if you yourself cannot fix it. So, Raman, without knowing the details of what the situation is, that's what I'll say for now.
Thank you, Prof. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Prof. So thanks for that response. We have more questions in the chat, so I would read a few of them. We have one from Maxwell Conlan asking that, well, he says thanks for the insight and he's really motivated and inspired. He wants to know find out whether a PhD abroad give young career researchers better exposure than having it in country. His second question is also how mentees relate with mentors to ensure they keep their trust and maintain integrity with their mentors. So I will check the, and there is also, well.
You want me to take them one by one? It will be easier
sure,
that
please.
way.
Okay, okay, please go ahead and
so the first question is doing your PhD abroad, does it give you a
better exposure
compared, okay, and better exposure? By default, I would say no. I would say no because the people who I know who are training PhDs here are not any less competent than those who are training other PhDs outside. Now, let me make a critical comparison. Me, I did my PhD abroad. Mm-hmm. Professor La did his PhD here in Ghana. Mm-hmm. Do you think me and him, we have any difference in our competence? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Because I don't think the problem is, or there's a deficit in being trained here compared to there. The only challenge is that the resources that are needed to train sometimes are lacking here. But there are people who are trained here who sometimes also get a lot of exposure that those who are there may not be getting, depending on what kind of program they are doing. So I wouldn't say that you get a better exposure. It depends on who you are working with. It depends on where you are studying, what subject area you are in. There are people who are studying abroad who are doing nutrition. They are only in a lab. They don't get any international experience. So you have to be clear which kind of competencies you want to build, and that's what will determine. That's what should determine where you go for a PhD. I hope that answers you. Then you asked about the relationship between mentees and mentors. Is that was the question, right?
Yes, please.
And the question is, how should the mentee or the person who is learning relate with the mentor? I think that question is better answered from the point of the mentor, because if the mentor creates opportunity for the mentee, it becomes easier for them to be able to learn from. So I would first of all encourage my colleagues who are mentoring others, please break down the barriers and create an enabling environment for the mentees to thrive. Then they can easily come to you and ask questions. I want my mentees to ask me questions. I want them to take initiative and not wait for me to tell them everything that they need. Because if I'm always giving you what you need to get, I cripple your ability to learn to stand on your feet. So by all means, come to me and I will show you, okay, this is where you need to find the information. But because I showed you, every time you will come to me without making any effort to search for yourself, then you are now making it difficult for you to learn, So that's what I would say in terms of be inquisitive and be willing to find information for yourself and learn. I think that would really serve you well. So those were the two questions, right?
Yes. And there is one last one before I read the recommendations. From Lexus. Lexus is asking, is there a point in your career where you felt like giving up? And if so, what has kept you striving or still keep striving in this?
By the grace of God, I've never felt like giving up. But there was a time when I felt down because I had prepared my proposal for my, that was during my PhD actually. And I thought, okay, this is the question I want to work on. I went to present it, and then there were questions that came in. By the time they finished, I felt like, oh, this thing is not going anywhere. But once I spoke to my supervisor, I said, oh, don't worry, we'll just go back to the drawing board and redo it again. And that really lifted my spirit. Since then, I've never felt like I cannot do anything, So I have never really come to a point in my life where I feel like, no, I want to give up. Not really, not in my career, no.
That's good to know. But Prof, will you wrap that up with, if somebody feels like giving up, what do you recommend for them to do? Just like,
it depends on what is making you feel like giving up. Is it that you are facing a challenge? If you are facing a challenge, then you need to talk to somebody, because we are not made to know everything. One person doesn't know everything, and one person cannot solve every problem. We are as strong as our connections that we have. It's not for nothing that people believe in this idea of connection. But in this case, I'm not talking about the connection of someone who will just give you unfair advantage, but the fact that someone has one kind of strength, you have another kind of strength, you bring it together and you can achieve great things. So if you feel like what you are doing currently is overwhelming, or you feel lonely, it's like only you are carrying a huge burden, please reach out. And I'm happy, I shared my number in the chat. feel free to reach out and let's have a conversation if there's anything I can help with. Now that I've said that, I hope I'm not in trouble.
You're going to flag your.
But this is a good trouble. I would like to carry it.
Yes. Please, let's not overwhelm Prof with calls. Call only when it's very, very necessary, please. So we have another participant, one girl. Please, one girl, right? I hope I got your name right. Please unmute and ask your question now.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, sorry, please. The name is Iwangala. Yeah, if you can remember.
Hey, I usually don't forget faces, but names, yeah, sometimes I miss it. So forgive me if I have missed that.
So then I'll pull out the support.
Okay, yo.
Prof, please, I just wanted to thank you very much for the inspiring message. I'm really motivated and inspired by your book.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, Prof, apart from your passion in data analysis, I really want to know what else motivated you to venture more into data analysis, because it's also an area I really have interest in, but currently facing some difficulties actually. So I just want to know what really motivated you to go more into it, and if there are any tricks that you can share with us so that we can also listen to them.
Okay, I made a confession earlier on that this will be the second confession. Me, I don't consider myself as into data analysis plenty. I usually would get the help of other people who are better at doing the data analysis. But early on in my career, I got the opportunity to run a short course with a friend of mine, Amber, in Yale. At that time, we were both PhD students, and the project that was funding our PhDs, the project wanted to carry out a short course on data analysis, statistical analysis, and the two of us were given the task. The truth is that I didn't choose to come and do it, but I was given the task, and I had learned to use EpiInfo during my master's studies. So I took on the task and really prepared for it, and we delivered it together, and it was quite an exciting experience. Since then, I've always been comfortable around doing data analysis. In fact, when I was in the US, I was using SAS. Then when I returned back, I couldn't continue using SAS because of the license. So then I switched to SPSS, and that's what I have used for my analysis, all the analysis that I do by myself. But I always feel compelled to go back and learn new ways of analysis. Of course, if there's something that is beyond me, there are statisticians that I can consult. And don't be shy to get help from that. But the basics of understanding the structure of data, being able to understand the distribution of the data, and then carrying out simple analysis of relationships. I think those ones, everyone who is handling data should be able to do. Unfortunately, there are just too many people these days. Whenever they have data, they go and hire contractors to do for them. If you don't even understand the processes the contractors are using, you won't be able to understand what they have done for you. So I encourage everyone. Maybe that's one of the training sessions that we can do during our conference. Get people to overcome their fear of biostatistics. So here's a topic for it: statistics for mere mortals.
Oh, Prof, I love your sense of humor. This is very interesting. We need that. We all need that so much. And
me myself, I will enroll and learn from it.
So I'll read a few comments from the chat, and then we bring this beautiful conversation and nice time with Prof to an end. So from a minute, please, my screen is good. So there was a chat from Ju Kumsen. Yes. Oh, goodness, sorry. What? I keep missing it. Yes. So Justine Kumson says, Prof is so kind at heart and a true teacher. Prof makes it easy for others to engage with him and learn from him. I also admire how easily Prof offers help to students to enable them get through their studies. We appreciate you, Prof Addo. And yes, truly, it's from all of us, we appreciate you. I'm sure if we give everyone the opportunity, we will keep saying this. And so, Prof, at this juncture, we want to say a big, big thank you. We know you are a very busy person, yet you made time of your busy schedule to come and speak to us. And it's been nothing but inspiration and motivation. And we really appreciate this. We know that most of us here are your mentees, and we are not going to disappoint you. We will put in our best. We help contribute to making our communities better, making Ghana better, and influencing the global community. So once again, thank you so much, Prof, for taking us through this section and sharing about your life to us.
Let me say that I am really blessed to have the opportunity to share my career and my life to colleagues and friends. And I've just seen a message from my senior brother, Professor Zotto. So all this while you were hiding here.
He's here.
Thank you very much, Phyllis, and the entire team here. I really appreciate this opportunity. I probably would never have had an opportunity like this to engage with so many of you in this way. So thank you, Gand, for putting this together. I feel very special. Thank you.
Thank you. So to all GAN members and every participant, this is a weekly series. We do so. GAN will be sending out another notice for our next meeting. Thank you all so much for participating. So bye-bye to everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Before we all
Bye,
go,
Prof.
Bye. Sorry,
before
please
we all
hold on.
go,
There is an
yes.
announcement. Sorry.
Sorry, Dr. Addo, I should have mentioned it. There was one comment in the chat. It asked that, Prof, please, how excited are you about CON 2023 and why should all GAN members desire to be there?
Yeah, I missed that. Sorry.
I think that, again, the point I kept making, we are as strong as our togetherness, so we don't get many opportunities to meet. And I'm not talking about meeting online. In Ghana, this is the only opportunity that brings nutritionists together. You may not be invited to meetings of UNICEF or USAID or any place, but this one is just our meeting, so I look forward to seeing all of us there. And it is in Kumasi. It's not in Dubai or some expensive place to go. So save up and come and just take it like your vacation for the year. Of course, Ghana for you didn't how to go on vacation. So come and learn. Take the week off and come and explore Kumasi and enjoy the place and enjoy the company of all the nutritionists who are in Ghana. So I look forward to seeing all of you.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. All right. So dear GAN members, this has been our Thursday Spotlight event for the Nutrition Month. We'll come again next week. We'll come your way next week with our personality for that Thursday. Please follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Please follow us, like our post, share, so that we know that, yes, you are members of GAN. Thank you all for joining and have a lovely evening.